Welcome to the Porn Reboot Podcast, where you get practical tips to gaining control over your porn or sex addiction. We help ambitious men end their out-of-control sexual behavior with pornography, sex, and masturbation so that you can maximize your life, perform at your potential, and remain in control in the driver's seat, which is where you have to be in order to gain or maintain the success you want in life. I'm your host, J.K. Emezi, certified sex and porn addiction recovery coach. Welcome to the episode. Today I'm going to be responding to a question from a brother in the implementation group on the chaser effect. And for those of you who don't know what the chaser effect is, in summary, it is basically a phenomenon which occurs after you have had sex. There is a very strong urge for more sexual stimuli. So some of you may have had sex with a partner, with someone else, and right after that, you find that maybe an hour, 2-3 hours later, you feel the urge for more sexual stimuli, but not with your partner. Now, when you search for the chaser effect online, interestingly enough, you find a lot of pseudoscience. And I think this is one of those things that is endemic on the internet today, where you'll find a lot of forums, a lot of people pulling information from forums as research material and then using it to explain what's happening. The reality of the chaser effect is that as men, we are biologically programmed to inseminate different women. And that's why we have this novelty factor that kicks in. It's the reason why you're not just opening one tab on whatever website you're on watching pornography and then masturbating to that. The reason why you move from one tab to another, one genre of pornography to the other, is because you are biologically hardwired to spread your seed to as many different women as possible. And obviously, pornography hijacks that. So this is why when you have sex, and not just staying in bed with your partner, if you were still in bed with your partner, if you're even sometimes still in the same room and you felt the urge for sex again, you would have sex again. But when you leave that environment, when you are in a, let's say you get in your car and you go to work, or let's say she leaves, you suddenly find that there's an urge for more sex, but it is not with your partner. This time it is specifically towards something novel. And that is what we call the chaser effect. It is very normal and it is natural. But let's jump into this brother's question. His context is, I'm reading, he says, I need to be explicitly clear that I was not experiencing the chaser effect due to any slip. I had a very quick quickie with my wife the day before this hard battle. Unfortunately, it was a very low quality quickie. I don't say that to complain in the least. I had an appointment to immediately leave for, and I was in the middle of the day, and my baby girl was napping, so they have a child, so we were being super quiet. This is the reality of being a new parent. Sometimes the stars have to line up for quickies to even happen, and I'm grateful that they're getting more frequent. But I do have a very high drive, and I always find myself craving more, or just my wife, whenever we have the chance for intimacy these days. Also, maybe I need to implement some additional new boundaries regarding this. I sincerely welcome any feedback or suggestions. Sincerely, thank you, brothers, for taking the time. So here's my response to this. The first thing I want to say is that for those of you who have kids, especially if you're a newer parent, being a new parent does have its sets of challenges with sex. So I do appreciate this brother sharing context. Intimacy with your wife is very important. But let's get a couple of things out of the way. Firstly, the chaser effect is a normal, natural sexual urge. I already explained where it comes from and the reason why it exists. But the key word there is natural. Now, in the life of a man who does not have a compulsive behavior with pornography or who does not have a pornography addiction, what a quote-unquote normal man would do is that he would just ignore it, or he would masturbate to remove the distraction. Now, a man who does not struggle with a compulsion with pornography ignores it because he has this understanding that it will pass. He has never used pornography or masturbation as a major coping strategy. But for men like us, like you and me, there is usually a consequence to masturbating or engaging with that sexual urge after we have had sex. and it usually leads to pornography, which as soon as we're exposed to pornography, our behavior becomes compulsive, which then leads to all the negative effects after that, which are primarily affecting our prefrontal cortex. So then you start experiencing the brain fog, you start experiencing the lack of focus, you start experiencing that low underlying depression, you start experiencing that lack of motivation. So you are fine as long as you do not use pornography and you are able to remember that this will pass. The second thing that I'd like to focus on is the frame. So he's using a frame of a battle. He says it's a battle. And that frame of a battle or a fight is always counterproductive to rebooting. What we do is we work with our brain, not against it. So this means that we have to accept the urge and use the tools. The more you battle with the urge, the more likely you are to relapse. So you cannot win against an enemy as cunning and as smart as you are. You are your addictive behavior. You are that subpersonality. But then men wonder, well, if I can't win, what if I slip in the process? The only way you can win against an enemy that is as cunning as you is to work with that enemy until you let its guard down or until you lead it to a place that you want it to be led to. It is you. But if you go head to head with it, you cannot win. You have to be gentle with it and lead it down the right path. So it means that you do so with awareness if you find yourself slipping. Now, this doesn't mean that you are literally aware when your penis is in your hand. It just simply means use the tools. If you do slip, if you do relapse, analyze it. Why did it happen? Ask yourself, did I slip to masturbation? Like, was it a natural urge or was it a natural desire for my partner that led to this? Your partner who was unavailable? Or did I simply desire pornography? Was my partner right there in the house? Was she there in the room? And then after having sex, I went to the bathroom and chose to masturbate. All of these are choices. Did you slip to pornography? If so, was it just pornography? Or were you medicating some other emotion? Use the post-relapse tool. We have a tool, very comprehensive tool within our program, which you can use after a relapse. And the purpose of this tool is to generate awareness. The beauty of the tool is every time you use it, you begin to find that right before you're about to slip, your unconscious mind pushes to the forefront the reasons for you not to. And it reminds you of the last time you actually slipped or relapsed. So it's a beautiful tool. The only deal is that you have to use it after your slip or after your relapse. So what you are likely going to find in this situation is that the process of wanting more sex is only a battle because it is such an inconsistent or very short-lived occurrence due to being a parent in this brother's case. So you find yourself thinking a lot more about it. And these thoughts lead to cravings, and your cravings ultimately become a choice because they came from thoughts which are a choice. The point I'm trying to make is that this brother asked a question about the chaser effect and he gave context. But one of the things that happens, especially with something like pornography addiction, where there are very few people with expertise on this topic out there, is that the answers are almost always cookie cutter answers. People treat everybody dealing with the chaser effect as if their solution to the chaser effect has to be the same. But that is not how human beings work. And I cannot emphasize this enough. If you are using an app, if you are working with a coach, if you're working with a therapist, if you are using a forum where the response is the same response to you, they're just like, yeah, the reason why this is happening is because XYZ, XYZ. But it is not unique to your specific lifestyle. It is highly unlikely that you are going to reboot. All the tools in our program apply to everyone. You can use the tools. However, when you use the tools, you are inputting data, and there is data that comes out on the other side. The repeated input of data into these tools gives you an overview of what your lifestyle is like, as well as a prescription for your coach, and eventually you learn how to do it on your own, for what you should do in your own unique lifestyle. Your life is different from others. There are men who could be experiencing the chaser effect, who could be married and who could have kids,
But the reality is that they might no longer be physically attracted to their wife because she's just had a kid, she's put on weight, they've been watching pornography, and they're just going to watch porn anyway, even if they were to have sex with their wife. Then there are other men who they're still very much physically attracted to their wife has just had a kid, and they experience the chaser effect. But because they're still very much physically attracted to their wife, their way of dealing with this problem is going to be very different. The results a man is going to get, a man who is attracted to his wife and a man who's not that attracted to his wife, during the reboot process in any situation, whether it's chaser effect or something else, each of them are going to require a different approach. The tools will show them that there is something different. And that is the importance of using a customized program like the reboot program, because it is customized to your lifestyle and your unique situation. Either way, I hope this was helpful in shedding some light on how to deal with the chaser effect for your unique situation.
I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out-of-control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org, or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is, if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot Group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally, you're about to lose your relationship, you want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving, then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.